Hi all, welcome to the final whistle. It's match preview night again. Leicester City travel to West Yorkshire to take on Huddersfield Town in the Championship in game week 2 of the Championship fixtures. And what a game this one could be at the John Smiths. I'll be joined by Matt from And He Takes That Chance. We're going to talk with Matt about the podcast, about everything Huddersfield. We're going to talk about the opposition, get to know them. We'll talk about everyone's favourite manager, Neil Warnock. We'll do foot in both camps, where we can talk about Danny Ward, Ben Hamer, Martin Waghorn, and players like that. So if you're in for a treat. Guys, as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed to the final whistle, please do so. It'd help us out massively. Let's see who's in the comments. Callum's in. How are you, Callum, mate? Are you good? Yeah, Tranmere on the 29th, mate. 7:45 kickoff. Hi, Jack. Looking forward to Huddersfield away up the Foxes. Yes, it's going to be a good away day. But let's get my guest in, Matt from And He Takes That Chance. Matt, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Jack. How are you doing?
I'm all right, pal. So tell everyone what you do then on the podcast of And He Takes That Chance.
Moan a lot is what we tend to do at the minute. So we started 5 years ago with Andy Takes That Chance when we were a Premier League club. And ever since then, we've gone down and down and down and down. So I don't know if we're a bit of a Jonah for the football club. But so we started in 2018. And the reason why we started was because we were sort of fed up of the sort of stick Huddersfield were getting in the press from the likes of TalkSport, BBC. Match of the Day used to refer to us as Sunderland or Hull, so we thought, if people are going to talk rubbish about Huddersfield Town, at least let's make it be a couple of Huddersfield fans that do it. So that's what we started 5 years ago, and we're still going somehow. So that's where we are.
Ronnie, how are you, mate? Best player to play for both was Frank Worthington. Ring any bells with you, Matt, that one?
Frank Worthington? Yeah, when I was a kid, he used to come back to Huddersfield at the old ground at Leeds Road, and he used to come on and take penalties at half time. So he used to roll on, and he used to do his little kick-ups from all the way from walking on the pitch all the way to the penalty spot. And I can't do kick-ups for anything, mate. I was going to swear that. I don't know if this is a swearing podcast, but I can't do kick-ups, put it that way. And Frank Worthington just used to make it look so easy as he used to go. And he was about 50-odd-year-old at this point, and he'd go over to the penalty spot, and he'd just dribble all the way. And we had back in 2003, Huddersfield Town almost went out of business, and they held a charity match at the stadium. And Frank Worthington was invited to play. He didn't start. He turned up 5 minutes, I think, after kickoff, and apparently he did some warm up in the car park just by doing a couple of kick-ups. Walked straight through the stadium office onto the pitch. And they subbed him straight on. And the first thing he did was a couple of kick-ups. He caught the ball on the back of his head and rang the length of the pitch with the ball on the back of his head. He was an unbelievable showman, absolutely great guy. And he's a sad miss for both of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, great striker. He's sadly missed, isn't he? Clinical goal scorer back in the day, Frank Worthington. Wherever club he went to, man were banging in goals. And
banging more than goals in, Frank Worthington, if you read his book. So, great story.
Great player. Let's get to know the opposition first, Matt, before we get on to the game. The opposition, Huddersfield Town. You finished 18th place last season. Neil Warnock came in after having all these managers and caretakers. What happened at Huddersfield last season, mate, from the start to finish?
Oh, you're going to make me go through this, aren't you, again? It was an absolute stinker, Jack. So we got in the playoff final, 2022. Carlos Corberán was the manager. A couple of weeks before the start of last season, he resigned because essentially he didn't like it's down to the vision of the club. The club weren't going to spend money. He didn't want to stand still. Off he went, different directions. So the club tried to appoint from within because we'd had a successful year. We've been building for a couple of years. So they tried to bring in sort of the head of coaching, Danny Schofield, who was with us. Yep. And Danny, bless him, spent 10 years as a player at the club. We love him dearly, but he wasn't really cut out to be the main man. And we won twice, I think, in 10, 11 games. It didn't go very well. And then we had a little break. Narcis Pelak was the caretaker for a game against Cardiff. We won, which was good. And then he was replaced by Mark Fotheringham. And Mark Fotheringham was something special, not in a good way as well. And things didn't go particularly well. The players hated him. The fans hated him. It was just a mess. And it took Neil Warnock coming back out of retirement for the 20th time to really rescue us. And the last 10 games of last season was phenomenal, because the first 36 were diabolical. And then the last 10 were quite magical. I think when Neil Warnock took over, I think in terms of form for the league, we were in 5th place. And that sort of shows you the scale of the recovery he did. But it was good fun once Neil Warnock arrived. Before that, I'm going to blank that out.
Yeah, I think with Neil Warnock, he's not everyone's favourite manager, is he? When it comes to fans, he always like to chant him and that.
Yeah.
And, it's that sort of relationship. He's like Marmite, and he either love him or hate him. He don't care what abuse he gets off any supporters. He just takes it. But he did steady the ship. Came in, steadied the ship, done really well. But for me, he's like a Sam Allardyce, isn't he? He can always come in at the back end of a season and save a team and really keep them up, which he's done. But when it always comes to like the start of the season, after like bringing in players and that, and at Middlesbrough, they had the issue with it, didn't it? Where he started at Middlesbrough that season after he did well coming in. But it didn't go well for him, did it? Neil Warnock, they ended up getting rid of him, bringing Chris Wilder in and all that. But I think Neil Warnock, how has transfer business gone for you lot so far? I mean, I believe you brought in 1 or 2 players.
Yeah, there's not a lot of transfer business, to be honest, and it's caused a little consternation. So throughout last season as well, we also had, over the last couple of years, we've had ownership issues in terms of we had a long-term stable owner in Dean Hoyle, got us from League One to the Premier League, which was great. We all love Dean, as a fan of the club. But then he was ill in 2019, and so he sold to another fan, which is Phil Hodgkinson. And then during COVID, Phil essentially ran out of money to run the club, so Dean had to come back in and save it from what would have been administration if no one had come in. And then as soon as he came back, his mission really was to steer it through to the end of the season and sell it. So and he sold it to an American called Kevin Nagel, who also owns Sacramento. So it's been an interesting journey in terms of that. So there's also, because of the change around at the end of the season in ownership, balls left, all the scouts have left. So there's been a huge upheaval, and we've not really signed anyone of note, I would say. We've got a number 2 goalkeeper in Chris Maxwell, who's been Championship and done okay. Lee Nichols is almost as good as it gets at this level. He was the goalkeeper of the year in 2022 for the Championship. And we've signed Tom Edwards from Stoke on loan at right back, because our regular right back's done his ACL and he's out till December. So that's all we've done. We're desperate for a striker, absolutely desperate. So I would hope that will get done before the end of the window. Who it is, I don't know. I just hope it's not going to be one of the Neil Warnock old 6'4" bruiser who can't tie his own shoelaces type of striker. So there's one been mentioned today, and it's made my toes curl. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
You started the start of the season off with 3-1 defeat to newly promoted Plymouth. Wasn't the greatest of performance by the Terriers, was it? That sort of performance. Not one that Neil Warnock would have expected on the opening day. Talk to me about that defeat to Plymouth. Where did it go wrong?
When we kicked off. No, there was a gale force wind blowing, and I was down there. It's a great, if for anyone who for your Leicester fans, down there for 3 or 4 days and visit some of the seaside towns if you can. It's a really cool place to visit. So we did that, and I was going to make sure that the football wasn't going to ruin, a good trip away. So it almost did, but no, we actually played quite well. It was just the manner of the goals we gave away were really, really bad. The first goal is so bad. It's the wind which causes havoc in our defence, and everybody leaves it to each other, and Morgan Whittaker taps it in. And then we were the better side until Plymouth second, and Plymouth second really came out of nowhere in that game. Huddersfield had knocked at the door. Danny Ward, the other Danny Ward that we've got, we like Danny Wards at Huddersfield. He missed a sitter. Jack Radoni missed with a header. Josh Koroma should have scored. Then we scored through Mikhail Helik, and second half was really, I wouldn't say it was one-way traffic as such, but Huddersfield were in the ascendancy, and it was a case of a lot of crosses and free kicks coming into the box and them dealing with it relatively comfortably, and then they just scored from nowhere. And if you watch the goal back, you'll probably think it's a great goal if you're a Plymouth fan, but if you're a Huddersfield fan, you're tearing your hair out.
I think we all.
I've got a lot to tear out as well, so it's going to be a long season. I think this.
You want to keep that nice piece of hair on your head. Don't go pulling it out this season, Jesus. What was your expectations this season, Matt, as a Huddersfield fan? Obviously, there's quite a lot of people, pundits, and I've had Huddersfield to go down this season, as well as the likes of QPR, Cardiff, the Rotherhams, teams like that. How do you respond to them people? Is it that Huddersfield could get relegated this season? Where do you actually see them finishing? Do you feel they'll scrape it, or?
I mean, it's the Championship, and anyone can get relegated. Apart from the three that come down, that'd be a stunning upset, wouldn't it? But anyone can really get relegated. To be honest, it's a 46 game. It's an attrition. Across the season, it's really difficult. A lot of players, when we came down in 2018, a lot of players really struggled with the Saturday Tuesday nature of the Championship. And it is a grind, and it does bring you down. But anyone could go down. We could go down, yeah, of course we could. But we could get in the top six. When we won't, but we could. Theoretically, we could.
There's always hope.
Yeah, but just for instance, when we got promoted in 2017, a lot of people had us down in the bottom three. When we got in the playoffs final in 2022, everyone had us in the bottom three. So does it bother me? No. Have I got us in the bottom three? No. Have I got us slightly higher? Yes, just about. But yeah, it doesn't bother me. We get it every year. I think people just look at Huddersfield and just say, Northern grubby town, let's get them in the bottom three. But without really any sort of looking into it, I think we just get it's that sort of I'm going to get me on my soapbox here, but I think there's a real sort of snobbish outlook in football these days.
Yeah, there is.
Everyone really just looks to the bigger clubs, and I think if you're a northern town, you're immediately despised just because of who you are. And I think people just look at Huddersfield, and past caring at that point, really. But it's will we go down? I don't think so. Could we? Yeah, of course we could. Anyone could, apart from Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, I guess.
I think when I looked at Huddersfield, when I placed them in the predictions, I haven't had them to go down, by the way. I've had them to just stay up. I looked at last season, how things went last season. I've also looked at transfer business and all that, and the squad itself. And I think with Huddersfield, I don't know, there was a bit shaky last season, you know what I mean? You didn't really know which way there was actually going to go with the thing. You didn't know if Neil Warnock could actually go and turn it around, how poor Huddersfield was at that point, but he managed to do so, which is quite a good thing what Neil Warnock's done, actually going in there and doing Neil Warnock things, shall we call it. We've got a big game at the weekend. Huddersfield away at the John Smith Stadium. It is called the John Smith still, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, for now, yeah.
For now, okay. John Smith said on Saturday. What's your thoughts on the game? We're going to go through stats and that in a minute, but what's your initial thoughts on Leicester going into this game?
Perfect time to play Leicester. And the reason I say that is because I always think you want the relegated teams as soon as possible, and you want because it is a period of adjustment for Leicester. You've got a new manager, you've got a lot of new players, you've got some that have left, some good players have left. So you're currently in a transitional. It may even be a short transitional period. I know you beat Coventry 2-1, didn't you? But again, it's probably going to be a short transitional period at the start of the season before you really hit your straps, in my opinion, and get going and probably go on a massive run and win the league, in my opinion. But so yeah, for me, it's the perfect time to play Leicester. They've come up with the momentum and the excitement and everything that comes with it. So Leicester, great side. Leicester could be as good as any team we've seen in the Championship for the last 10 years, in truth. Some of the players they've got. But when you look at Huddersfield's results at the end of last season, a lot of good results against the top sides, particularly at home. So Am I scared of Leicester? No. Worried about Leicester, of course, because there's a lot of talent there. But Huddersfield got a history this year of getting results against teams like Leicester at home. I'm not saying we're going to beat you or anything, but if Huddersfield Town turn up and make it awkward, there is the potential. And if Leicester don't play well, then Huddersfield could nick something. That's what I'm clinging to at the minute. But yeah, Leicester, great side, should win the league in my opinion. But this is the time to play them if you're going to beat them.
Yeah, I think this game, people would call it potential banana skin, wouldn't they? Looking at this game for Leicester, it's going to be a challenging game for the Foxes. I don't think it's going to be a walkover, to be fair. Going into this one, Maresca will obviously look to get back-to-back league wins under his belt after beating Coventry. I mean, we had to come back and beat Coventry. I mean, Coventry went 1-0 up. We didn't really come out second half at the start, and then you're thinking, oh, for God's sake, here we go. And then Dewsbury Hall, Mavadidi and that started showing what they're about and that, and then we ended up beating Coventry. The fitness was there. And I think it's all going on energy levels as well, isn't it? Leicester are one of them sides who like to keep the ball a lot. I don't know if you watched the Burton game, but I think with Maresca, it's like he tries bringing out the little parts from Manchester City. It is time there where he likes to keep the ball, let teams come on, try and tire teams out, attack the game the best way he can. And I think like the likes of Ndidi, Ricardo, they're going to be crucial this season as well. They're playing new positions with the attacking side of the game. But there's always that sort of glimpse of hitting us out on the counter-attack and it over the top football like Coventry did. And I think that's something you got to worry with Huddersfield. Huddersfield, they'll battle hard in this game. I think they'll try and make it quite difficult for Leicester. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game of football, this one. Obviously, we haven't been to the John Smiths for a while. So, it's new to us again. We're not used to... We used to bloody Man City away, you know what I mean? Liverpool, Man United and that. But I'm just glad now we can actually go to, like, different grounds and that, you know what I mean? And, it brings back old memories and that of Anthony Knockout going to Huddersfield and scoring that scorpion kick. And I think that's when Alex Smith is ring goal for you lot, Matt.
It was, I remember that scorpion kick. And he scored in the first half before as well from about 30 yards as well, straight down Smithy's throat. But yeah, he was a great player, Knockout, until he came to us last season, and then he was absolutely useless. But there's some good games. Danny Drinkwater played for both teams as well. He was decent for us. He was only young, but he was decent. It's a shame he's kind of flitted away, hasn't he? But there's been some good games in the past. Most of them have gone your way, to be honest. But I'm old enough to remember a game at Filbert Street as well, which was 3-2 back in the mid-90s. That was a good game as well. So there've been some good games in the past, and I remember Steve Howard winning a game for you up here as well. I think it was Steve Howard, wasn't it? Yeah, winning a game up here as well in about 2
Was that in League? Was that in League One?
That was I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I think I can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was 1-0 or something, but I remember you guys came and won, and I think it was Steve Howard got the winner. Big target man that you had up front, and I think there was a 3-2 at your place, which was quite good. But there's been some good games. Hopefully, it's another one on Saturday.
Let's have a look at stats head to head. 22nd versus 7th. Obviously, it's the only start of the season. Leicester with 1 win, Huddersfield with 1 defeat. Championship head to head, played 4. And Leicester winning 4. I mean, Neil Warnock don't look happy with that one. Maresca's a bit shrewd about it. But I think with, only 4 times in the Championship, I mean, it's an interesting one. Obviously, there's been games in League One and Premier League with Leicester and Huddersfield. Let's have a look at the last 5 meetings, Matt, at the John Smith Stadium then. So 2019 with a 4-1 win for Leicester. Tillman scored a cracker. Vardy scored a penalty, didn't he, against Ben Hamer. The 1-1 draw was when you lot got promoted to the Premier League, wasn't it? Then we had the 2-0 win in 2014. Gary Taylor-Fletcher scoring for the Foxes that day. That was the last time Leicester was in the Championship. Wes Morgan scored on that day as well. 2012, I believe that was the knockout double. And then, like you say, the 3-2 win in 2008, Steve Howard scoring in that game. So what's your most memorable game, Matt, of Huddersfield versus Leicester at the John Smiths, mate?
There's not been many. I remember that game where you beat us in 2008, and a right back for us called Jim Goodwin at the time. He's now a manager in Scotland. I think he's recently been at Aberdeen and St Mirren and a couple of different places. He had an absolutely revolting game at right back, and the sponsor gave him the man of the match, I think, out of pity. And the reaction to the crowd was like, "What's going on here?" And he pulled his shirt over his head in embarrassment. That was quite funny at the time. Yeah, I think the best one is probably at Leicester. I think we beat you in an FA Cup replay 2-1 in around 2013, 14, around there. Very unprepared for that answer. But yeah,
was that when Sean Scannell played for you lot, wasn't it? Was that
he went on this mad run, didn't he? And he should have been tackled about 5 times, and he just ended up tapping it into the net. And Adam Clayton scored a decent free kick as well in that game. But that's there's some absolute shockers where you beat us 6-1 a couple of times. Got bad memories of Chris Wood destroying Murray Wallace.
That was his first game as a Leicester player, Chris Wood.
Yeah,
was it 2 goals? Were it that game?
Yeah, we weren't very good at that point. That's 2012. Actually, I think that was January 2013. I think it was the first game of 2013. And Simon Grayson, our manager, was not long for this world. Not long for this world after that, unfortunately.
He's been a bit round, hasn't he? Round the block, Simon Grayson at Blackpool and Preston as well. Obviously, a former Leicester player, Simon Grayson, and got a lot of respect for him. But let's have a look at last time round, the 4-1 defeat for you lot. Aaron Moy was on the score sheet for you lot that day.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that game. How much do you remember of it, apart from the defeat?
Well, that was the penalty, wasn't it? Aaron Moy scored with a penalty, I think. Yeah, I think the only thing I remember about that game was there was a little girl in America who had cancer, and she was sat in America. I think it was Dallas or something, where she was from, Texas or something. And she'd obviously had a head shave. She'd lost all her hair, and she'd seen football on TV, and she'd seen Aaron Moy, and she really gravitated him. And it's one of those sort of like funny but sad stories. And so what they did is that game against Leicester, she actually flew over to watch the game and meet Aaron Moy that game, and he scored. And when he scored the penalty, he sort of waved at her in the crowd, which was probably the only nice moment of that game, to be honest. The rest of it, we were so bad that season. We absolutely stunk the Premier League out, and it was a slow, painful death from the moment David Wagner left us in. I think it was about February, and it was January, February, and it was just painful through to the end of the season. Every game was a walloping, and that was just one more walloping to add to the list, unfortunately.
I think that was started kind of the time when Leicester looked good under, I forget, prime Brendan Rodgers ball, should we call it, back then. We looked absolutely good in 2019. We looked a decent team. We could have gone on to win the league, but Eddie ended up at the end of the season and not making it. We ended up, I think it was in the Europa League in the end. We were so many points away from cementing Champions League football and ahead of like Chelsea. So we were so many points ahead of them, I think it was at that point. And we just couldn't get the job done. And it was a bit of a well-winded one to say how good you actually was that season to where you actually finished. Let's get on to foot in both camps. We like to do this on the channel. We'll start with Ben Chilwell. You had him in the title-winning season when Leicester won the league. 15-16. How did Chilwell get on loan at Huddersfield, mate?
Brilliant. I think he only played about 12 games or something. But he was a mature young guy as well. I remember hearing him on the radio afterwards, and for an 18-year-old to give such a mature interview afterwards after such a good performance, you kind of think, this lad's going to make it. He was excellent. And yeah, Ben Chilwell was fantastic for us, without a doubt. Not so much for sure about the rest of this list. But, yeah.
Anthony Knockout.
Rubbish. Next. Rubbish, honestly.
Leicester,
Fantastic for Leicester. For us, he came, I think he had a bad foot or something. Ended up having to leave halfway through his loan period to go back to France to sort out a personal issue. Was spotted in nightclubs while he was there, while he was supposed to be doing it, and it just never played for us again. A complete waste of time.
Martin Waghorn.
Lovely bloke. Did a job. Wasn't at his best with us. I think he's 33 and goal scoring wasn't his forte, I think, anymore when he came to us.
And I think you've had him back in his late career, haven't you, Martin Waggle? I think
Yeah,
you've
that
had him on loan from Coventry, was it?
Yeah, that was recently. Yeah, he's gone back down to League One with Derby. Really good bloke, though. Apparently, he was excellent in the dressing room, and really helped lift the morale of the club. So he did a job for us for sure.
Lee Peltier, Matt.
Good. Yeah, we had him. We got him from Liverpool. He was good for us. Really good when we were in League One. Played right back primarily, then moved to midfield. The next season, we got to the playoff semi-final and then the playoff final. And then Leicester came and offered about 750 grand, something like that. And it went with best wishes. Yeah, he was a good player for us. And then he came back again about 2014-15, which I thought was probably the back end of his career. But I'm quite slightly surprised Neil Warnock hasn't tried to sign him again because he's a very Neil Warnock player. But Lee Peltier was good for us. When he came back, not quite as good, but first spell, yeah, excellent and good guy.
Connor Cody.
Brilliant, yeah, really good. We again signed him from Liverpool. He was about 2021 when he played for us, and you could see he had something about him. He played defensive midfield. I always thought he was a centre-back when he was playing defensive midfield, but Chris Powell loved a centre-back in just a Chris Powell thing. And it was good. Yeah, it was really good. I thought we undersold it when he went to Wolves. He went for about 1.8 million, and I thought we sort of really undervalued that, and he's gone on to have a decent career. But yeah, really good guy as well. He's really popular. Or was really popular.
The last one, Ben Hamer.
Yeah, Ben Hamer. Good guy. Yeah. Really good guy. Had an absolute nightmare with us to the point where it was just like, it was like Old Yeller where you got to take him out to the back and shoot him. It was so bad. He was terrible, really, in the Premier League. And then we had obviously COVID hit, and we sent him away on loan to Derby where he was bad, by all accounts. And then he came back and he played behind closed doors for us, and he was decent actually when there was no crowd there, less pressure, and I think that kind of helped him rebuild a little bit. So there was a positive impact for him from the COVID era from behind closed doors. But yeah, he ended up reasonably well, and then we sold him, and then we got rid of probably more than 5 a week. So so we binned him for one of our youth products who had a bit of a stinker. So yeah, it was a bad mistake letting him go, but he finished well, but started really badly.
And the one I left off the list for you was Danny Ward.
He was the keeper when we got promoted to the Premier League. Spot kick specialist. Has a little weakness on his near post where I noticed, and I don't think he's ever rectified it. His low shots to his near post he's a little bit weak on. But yeah, it was great for us. We've got a video somewhere of him singing absolutely smashed in one of the bars in Huddersfield after we've been promoted, and he's on the table with a microphone, and the sound system singing songs. It's brilliant. It's a really brilliant video. But we really liked him. Is he the best goalkeeper we've had recently? Probably not. Probably in the top 3 or 4. Yeah. But yeah, about Danny Ward is not exactly speaking from my own experience, but I was a goalkeeper as well back when I used to play, and I always found that if you don't play regularly, you get rusty really quickly. And for me, Danny Ward sitting on the bench behind Kasper Schmeichel was such a huge mistake for him. He could have gone on to be a decent keeper, but I just think that he stagnated something wrong. And to be honest, you're not going to dislodge a goalkeeper like Kasper Schmeichel easily, are you? He was top class, and just him sitting on the bench for years has really set his career back. And I wish goalkeepers wouldn't do that, especially talented young ones. They go take the money, don't they, and sit there as a third choice and never play. Richard Wright syndrome or whatever you want to call it. And he did that, and I just felt it was a shame for him because I thought he was better than that. And I think his career might have gone a different direction if he'd have gone somewhere and played rather than, sat watching Kasper Schmeichel be world class for a couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. Leicester fans don't rate him. It is a bit of a demise with Danny Ward regarding Leicester fans. Talk about Danny Ward, it's like, oh, for God's sake, get rid. Don't want him at the club. If Danny Ward wants to be number 1, he's got to go somewhere else. He has, for his own sake. And I think this is what I look at with Danny Ward. But you look at it last season with Brendan Rodgers, gave Danny Ward the chance, and you're thinking, Danny Ward's never played for us. Not much anyway. And you're thinking, how does he get number 1 jersey? And you're thinking, Iverson, cracking goalkeeper in the Championship with Preston.
Outplaying.
And you're thinking, Iverson's got to be number 1, surely. But we gave Danny Ward the chance. I think he kept 5+ clean sheets. And you're thinking, bloody hell, he's actually kept clean sheets. And, but when you actually shoot at him, every goal goes in, you know what I mean? And there was one against Chelsea where Kai Havertz just like chipped it over him and he's like that, still watching the ball. And you're thinking,
I think I remember that.
No.
Yeah.
But Leicester,
I really felt
his career's gone downhill at Leicester.
Yeah, I really felt for him through that because it wasn't just fans panning him. It was pretty much, it felt like everybody on Twitter was panning him at one point, and I felt quite bad for him. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? He's stagnated. He's gone backwards. He's regressed. And it's a shame, but yeah, he needs to go and play football, doesn't he? And this is what goalkeepers should do. They should wait till they're 33 to go, 34 to go sit on a bench rather than, the prime years of his career. And I get why they do it. They get paid a lot of money, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, I think it's a career which probably hasn't had the progression it should have. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but it could come to someone like Huddersfield, but someone like that now and play there 18 months and work his way back up is young enough, isn't he, to do that for a goalkeeper? But money talks, doesn't it?
You could have Huddersfield if you want, mate. You can have back.
We've got Lee Nichols, who's decent, but if he left, I would. I'd take him.
Go on, then we'll sort a deal out tomorrow. We'll get the contract written up. Matt, team selection, mate. What do you reckon? What's the 11 Huddersfield are going to play out against Leicester?
I think there might be a system change. I think against Leicester, I think we might go with a back 3, which will probably be back 5 for 90% of the time. So I think we'll probably have Nichols in goal. There's a question mark over Matty Pearson, who's one of our main defenders. He was injured. I remember Gavin Ward. He was decent. But yeah, so Matty Pearson, he got a dead leg against Plymouth. So we're not sure if Matty Pearson's fit to play. Hopefully he is. Michal Helik, centre-back's decent. Plays for Poland or was playing for Poland prior to the World Cup. We've got a Japanese international centre-back as well who's not quite 100% fit either. So it just really depends on fitness. And then we'll probably have Josh Ruffles left wing-back or left centre-back. Tom Edwards will probably be right wing-back. And then midfield, we'll probably be looking at Jack Redoni. Jonathan Hoggy's fit. I think you'll probably remember Jonathan Hogg.
Yes, I remember him in that playoff goal.
Sorry.
There we are. You have to bring that
up. Sorry. Go down a lot since then, so he definitely doesn't get up to the other end of the pitch and knock him down anymore. So
no.
He'll be probably playing with Jack Redoni and maybe Romani Edmonds-Green in there, who had a bad game against Plymouth, so yours as one. And then the other Danny Ward will probably start up front with Josh Karoma, I would imagine. And Josh Karoma is the sort of player we look to who could have a decent day and make a difference. But he's one of those frustratingly inconsistent players, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, from a Leicester perspective, team news, Connor Cody will be missing for 10 weeks from the Luton game from when he got injured, so it's about 7 weeks. We'll be missing him for Hermanson, who played against Coventry last weekend, the new number 1. He's injured ahead of this one, but he should be fit for the Cardiff game next week. This is my 11 to play Huddersfield. Stolasic in goal. I've gone for a back 3 of Vestergaard, Fass, Callum Doyle. I don't know if you know much of Callum Doyle from the Championship last season.
Yeah, he played for Coventry, didn't he? And England, I can't remember if it was under 21s or 20s yet, but yeah, Callum Doyle, decent, left-footed passing centre-back, isn't he? He's a good player.
So I've gone for a 3-2-4-1. So I've gone for Ndidi and Ricardo in behind, Winks, Dewsbury Hall, Mavadidi, and Casey McAtee. And I've gone Kelechi Iheanacho up front. I think I think he needs the goals, and he got one against Burton. But yeah, I think you don't know. Some would say he's too good for this league. To be fair, but he's got to prove he can score goals in this league though. At the same time, so I've gone for Iheanacho. But I see Ricardo in Ndidi. more attacking and more advanced, to be fair. And I think Huddersfield will look to exploit Leicester, like I say, on the counter-attack when Leicester take too many players forward.
Yeah, we'll just kick it in the corners and chase it. That's exactly what we'll do. Turn and face. All the old Sunday League shouts you hear. Turn and face, get into them and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we'll sit deep. We'll sit off you, let you have the ball, your own half, and then there'll be certain trigger points to press and try and win the ball back at certain areas. But we'll be very compact, very deep. And then when we break out, we'll probably look to go long to Danny Ward or Josh Karoma either side, and then hope one of them hold it up and bring others in. That's generally what we'll do. It'll be Beauty versus the Beast, I think, on Saturday.
I think that's how we're looking to at the minute. Score prediction, Matt. What do you reckon, mate? Against Leicester, can you upset the Foxes on Saturday afternoon? Is there a banana skin in this one? Do you reckon?
Will I upset the people watching if I say yes? I did say a couple of weeks ago that I think we'll lose against Plymouth and beat Leicester. It's just a very Huddersfield thing to do. So will we win? Probably not. But there's always hope, isn't there, in football? And you always think that it's just a very Huddersfield game to go and win. Is this a very Neil Warnock game to go and win? Leicester are a far better team than us. Don't get me wrong. If Leicester turn up, they win. It's as simple as that. Yeah. But if Leicester don't turn up, Huddersfield upset them, disrupt the rhythm. We're quite good from set piece. I should have said we'll probably play as well. So we do have the ability to upset teams, and we could potentially upset you from a set piece. So yeah, I think we could get something. Score wise, it's either going to be like 3-0 to Leicester or 1-0 Huddersfield, isn't it, or something like that. I think it's either going to be an absolute hammering or Huddersfield are going to absolutely sneak the dirtiest, filthiest shithousery you've ever seen. It'll be one of
that'd be typical Leicester if that happened.
Yeah. It's going to be it'll be either one or the other. Leicester will either absolutely plays off the park and smashes, or we're going to be the dirty name on the lips of Leicester fans for a couple of weeks. It's going to go one way or the other. You won't like us after the game either way, I don't think.
How are you, Marco? How are you, mate? Nacho has to start after Wednesday. He deserves to start, man. Jamie Vardy, he's not getting any younger, is he? Let's be honest. He's 36 now, and this style of football, what Maresca wants to implement, it's kind of like teaching an old dog new tricks in it with Jamie Vardy with this new style of football. And all
if you don't want him, we'll have him. We'll have him. If you don't want him, we'll
hands
take
off. Never said we were selling him. Hey, but now he can still score goals when he gets the chances. If he can get the service against Huddersfield, I think he'll get one. He always likes to shit house teams, and
I love to score against us as well. Yeah, he almost signed for us. I think when he was at Halifax, we were looking at him very closely, and there was a tweet he actually put out saying he was going to be a Terrier, and then he deleted it very quickly. So yeah, that was a mistake that we potentially made back about 12 years ago, something like that. But yeah, I think at one point we were very close. And I think Lee Clark was our manager at the time, and between
was that when you had Jordan Rhodes?
Yeah, we did.
We wanted Jordan Rhodes from Huddersfield at the time.
Yeah.
And we wanted Lee Clark as manager.
Oh, I remember that, yeah. And he gave some really funny responses. And I think a lot of Huddersfield fans were like, off you pop, Lee. Because he had a lot of money to spend, and he didn't quite deliver on what he set out to do. He was all right for us, but his career after that went, didn't it? So
I'm going to go 3-0 Leicester. I think a clean sheet. Obviously, you've got to be wary of Huddersfield with, like you say, exploiting Leicester in different areas. We've got to be prepared for that as well. Huddersfield ain't going to be a walkover. It's not going to be like a 5-0 thrashing or something like that. But I think 3-0 is a reasonable result for me for this one. We should see the game out, to be fair. No disrespect. But I think could Jamie Vardy get a goal? It remains to be seen. And if he does get a goal, then I think Matt will be smiling and happy.
If it's for us, I would be, yeah.
Matt, thanks for coming on, mate. Please let everybody know where they can find you and what you do on your podcast.
Yeah, so we're at Takes That Chance across all forms of social media, YouTube, Twitter, Threads these days, or whatever it's called. Instagram. And we've been around for a while. So yeah, if you ever want to listen to anything Huddersfield related, I'm sure you don't. But if you do, then that's where we're at.
Yeah, go over and check the guys out. Matt, thanks for coming on, mate. Do appreciate your time. And
all the best
for
for
the
the
rest of the season after Saturday.
You too, mate.
Cheers, pal. That was Matt from It Takes a Chance. Yeah, good podcast. Go and check them out, as always. Terry's going 2-0. But yeah, it's what can I say? It's going to be, it should be a decent game tomorrow for everyone who's travelling. West Yorkshire is the destination, the John Smith Stadium. I haven't been there since 2019, so it's been a while. But fingers crossed we can go and get them 3 points and get back-to-back results in the league. Let's have a look what Maresca's had to say in his press conference. Enzo Maresca refused to be drawn on, commenting on Cesar Cassidy again, but did say he wants to bring in around 4 players before the end of the window. He did stress, though, that players will have to leave for the club to do that. So we'll see what happens. Leicester do look like they're going to be busy over the next few weeks, bringing in players and losing players, but let's see what happens. Championship predictions, go and check them out. Go and check out my predictions last night on the predictions. Go and see which way I've gone for all the teams this weekend, then in the weekend's round of games. Take care, Jack. Mike Fox to win 3-1 against Huddersfield, yeah. 1-0 Leicester, yeah. Evening, Jack. Hope you're well. I'm good, Steve Smart. How are you, mate? Steve, if you've just joined, when this goes on playback, mate, go and rewatch it. Go and let me know what you think, team selection and all that. We are coming to the end of the show. I do appreciate you coming in, though, mate. Guys, as always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed to The Final Whistle and you enjoy our content, please hit the subscribe button. Let's get the likes up as well. And, yeah, that is it from me. We'll have a match day vlog out after the game tomorrow. Fingers crossed the Foxes win, but we'll have to wait and see. See what happens. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. As always, take care. Yeah, we'll watch in a minute, bro. Yeah, appreciate that. Take care, everyone. I'll see you again in another stream, and keep it here at The Final Whistle. Bye bye for now. Hi all, thank you for watching The Final Whistle. If you enjoy all our content, please remember to smash a like, share and subscribe to the channel.